Hi, this is Bronwyn the Brave, and I'm showing how to avoid ladders in your knitting when working in the round on double-pointed needles. Ladders are columns of stitches that are just a hair wider than the others. It usually happens, at least for me, in ribbing, but it can happen on stockinette. And it happens at the transition between the two needles as you're changing from one needle to another. And on this sample, I've marked where each of those needle transitions is. I had worked this on 4 double-pointed needles. And you can see this column right here is just a tiny bit wider. As I move this around, this one's just a little bit. And right here, when you stretch it out, it's not quite as obvious. But if this were, this one looks a little bit wider to me. Like this is a little bit wider than that one. So it's just something to make it a little bit nicer. The way to avoid these ladders is to minimize that gap. And my trick is to advance the stitches. And what I mean is, say you have your stitches in, I don't need that needle. So I'm going to knit the stitches all the way around. And rather than switching to a new working needle, advancing the empty needle, right? I'm either going to set it down on the table, hold it in my spare fingers over here, do a little fancy finger action, or stick it in my mouth, something to hold it for 2 stitches. And that's if I'm knitting in 1x1 ribbing. If I'm knitting in 2x2 ribbing, I will actually knit 4 extra stitches. So what I mean by that is, instead of, so on this needle I have 5, 10 stitches. The first time that I set this up, I'll actually end up with 12 stitches on this needle just for a minute. So I knit 2 extra stitches. And again, if you're working in 2x2 ribbing, in order to keep the pattern as a knit 2, purl 2 on every single needle, you would knit 4 extra. So I have 12 stitches on this needle now. And for the time being, I only have 6 on this next needle. And I work across this one, and I do snug that up. And the second stitch, I work that one snug too, just to minimize the distance there. My needles are too long, I'm hitting the table. Okay, I have my 6 stitches. I set this down for the time being, and I work 2 more stitches. And now I can take that needle and begin working with it. And what that does is it just shifts where that transition is between the needles. The beginning of the round stays exactly where it started. We're not changing the beginning of the round at all. So here I've come to the beginning of the round, except that I want to work 2 extra stitches. So now this is where my beginning of the round is. And if you want to use a marker, you could, because it's not going to fall off if you place it there. Eventually it would. It's going to travel with you, but if you have a hard time seeing where that transition is, Most people use the tail. But you'll just do that on every round. Continue. So each round will shift. And what that does is instead of having these columns, it just shifts it. So it's you might still have a little bit of a longer stitch, but it's constantly going to be shifting around and around that piece of knitting. So what happens is you have a nice even ribbing. All of these columns look the same. It's so much neater and even stretched out. It looks nicer. Some yarn might not be as obvious. Some knit purl stitches, different ribbings might not be as prone to it. Some might be extra prone. So if you find that you're getting these ladders, and a lot of times it doesn't show up immediately. That's the problem, is that you can get through an entire sock and then you realize that you have ladders, and they don't really block out very well, but this is a great way to avoid those. If you like this video, I hope you give us a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you'll get notifications anytime that I publish new videos like this. Thanks for watching. I'm Brown and the Brave.